Hey everybody, it's playtime. Today we are going to make my once famous butternut squash lasagna. And I had come across some butternut squash that was on, well, wasn't on sale. I got it from Misfits Market. And so it's that, and it's ricotta. I also came across these at the local market. And they're very close to when I worked commercially, and I used to make lasagna all the time. Lasagna was one of my things. And I used to buy these pre-cooked pasta sheets, and that reminds me of these. Now they're cut into thin strips, so we'll have to manipulate them a little bit, but I haven't used fresh pasta since then. So we're gonna try it, and it's gonna come out good, and let's do it. We're gonna start by cooking our peeled butternut squash in some salted water, and we're gonna cook that down till it's soft and tender, and then we're gonna continue. While our squash cooks, we're going to make our bechamel sauce. I do like to use a white sauce in this particular lasagna. So we're going to start with some melted butter. And as soon as that gets bubbly, we're going to take it to the next level. Okay, we're starting to get bubbly here. I'm going to season this with some salt and pepper. Whoa, there go those bubbles. And a little bit of nutmeg because it's a creamy sauce. And incorporate that. And we're going to sprinkle that with a little bit of all-purpose flour. And stir that around to make a roux. You can whisk this if you want, but you don't really have to. That flour will break down if you keep stirring it. We have a nice loose roux, and we have cooked it down for a little while, about a minute or two, to get out the starchiness of the flour. And the next thing that goes in is half and half. And to add a little savoriness to our bechamel sauce, I'm going to put in a dollop of chicken base, and we're going to keep stirring it till it thickens up. Our bechamel sauce came up to a boil, and it's a nice consistency. Saucy, creamy, and now we're going to take it off the heat and let it sit for a bit, and our butternut is almost done as well. Our butternut squash is done. A knife inserted goes in nice and easily. Sometimes it's easier to just push it up against the sides, but it's very soft. And now what we're going to do is drain it and season it and mash it. Our butternut squash is done, and we're going to season it with some butter. And some salt and pepper, some cinnamon, just a pinch, and a little bit of brown sugar, kind of a purist when it comes to butternut. I don't like to put too much stuff in it. And now we're going to let that butter melt, and we're going to mash it up. I was going to use the immersion blender to mash this butternut, but as you can see, it's mashing up very nicely all by itself. And I do like to leave a little chunkiness, a little texture, because the next step, we're going to blend this butternut with some ricotta cheese, and that's going to be our filling for our lasagna. We're going to start our ricotta mix with a beaten egg, which will act as a binder for the ricotta. Our ricotta is in, and now we're going to blend it up with our egg. And we're going to season our ricotta and egg mix with a little salt and pepper, some dried oregano, and a pinch of dried basil. And we're going to mix it again. And now we've got all of our components, and it's time to assemble our lasagna. But before we do, we're going to mix together the butternut and the ricotta. I don't know if I'm going to use all of this butternut. Let's start with that much and see what we got. Mix it together. These dumpling strips that can be used for lasagna as fresh dough are cut into strips. So what I've done is take them out. I'm going to press them in together to hopefully make a sheet that will fit into our baking pan, because that's going to make it easier. Preheating the oven to 350. Spray this down the bottom and up the sides. And start layering this stuff. The first thing we're going to put in is just a slight smear of our bechamel. And Kelly says, you added enough? Okay, first layer of sauce is in, and our strips did stay together. And check that out. They fit right in that pan very nicely. Our next layer is our butternut and ricotta mixture. And there is a lot of this. I may have to make a second one of these. And we'll scoop that in and spread it around. We want to go all the way out to the edges. And because it's lasagna, we have some, I actually took some of that shaved 4-cheese blend that I had and chopped it up. So it's provolone, romano, parmesan, and asiago. And you can use any, just regular grated parm or whatever. And just a little sprinkle of cheesiness here, followed by some mozzarella cheese. And now for the next layer. Okay, that's in. We're going to press, make it nice and even. And then we're going to repeat our layering with our butternut and our cheese and perhaps a little more sauce. Okay, here comes our final set of what we're going to call noodles. I think I can add another one on here. Because this baking pan is bigger at the top than it is with the other layers, I put an extra strip here and an extra liner here to make sure that everything's covered up with these dough strips. Should be interesting to see how these are going to come out when they're baked. But to finish our lasagna, we are going to top this. You noticed I put it on a baking sheet just in case it boils over when it's baking. I'm going to cover it with this bechamel. Spread it all around. The dogs are going crazy out there today. They're making Kelly go crazy too. Okay, all the way out to the edges. Make sure the noodles are covered and the sauce is evenly distributed. That ought to do it. And now it's time for mozzarella. Okay, our final layer of cheese is going on. Sprinkle that all around. And just for a little color on top, I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of basil, just so it looks colorful. And we're going in the oven, 350 for about an hour. So let's see what she looks like when it comes out. Our butternut squash lasagna is out of the oven. It did take 1 hour. As you can see, the cheese is nicely browned. It's been out for a minute, so it stopped bubbling, but that's what it looks like. And as you can see, it's quite firm. Looks like it's done. Lasagna does not cut well when it's real hot like this, so we're going to let it rest a while, and then we're going to slice it and serve it. Our butternut squash lasagna is cool enough to cut, and we have cut it into a nice piece. I'm going to try to hold it up to the side so you can see those layers. It is sweet and savory and cheesy and so yummy. And I can remember now why it was so popular back in the day. So there we have it. And it's going to be great. Thank you for joining me while we played with our butternut squash. Here's what we look like on a fork. Cheesy and layeries. And by the way, that dough that I subbed for noodles, for lasagna noodles, worked out really good. They're a little doughy, a little more doughy than lasagna noodles, but I like it that way. And especially with something sweet-ish like this butternut squash, it really made a nice combination. So, and I had some left over, so we're going to be doing more stuff with those dough strips. And now it's time for a little bite. Going in